Hi there. Corruption in the Zimbabwe military. There is a story that's just coming out of various media outlets in Zimbabwe, and it relates to the story of three generals who have been fired by the commander of the Zimbabwe National Army. The generals in question are Major General Hlanganani Dube, who is the quartermaster, then Major General Paul Chima, who is the Inspector General, and the third one is Major General John Pande, who is the Director General of Policy and Public Relations and International Affairs at the Ministry of Defense. What they have been accused of is that they have been going on the open market and buying properties valued from between 400,000 US dollars to 4 million US dollars, and then they have been selling the properties on the open market at inflated prices and then pocketing the proceeds for themselves. The man who is actually responsible for the Zimbabwe National Army, the commander of the army component of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Anselm Sanyatwe, decided to fire the three officers on charges of corruption, and I will try and show you. General Sanyatwe is the man in with the yellow beret, and on the left is General Valerio Silanda, who is the overall commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. I'll show you a picture of Hlanganani Dube, so at least you get an idea of who I'm talking about. That's Hlanganani Dube there on screen, and then the next one is Paul Chima. That's Paul Chima there in military uniform, and some observers have said that the three officers I've mentioned, they are part of a group of military officers who have been referred to as the untouchables. The untouchables have been doing whatever they feel like because they brought the current president who is in power, Emmerson Mnangagwa, after the military coup of 2017, and so what the newspaper is essentially saying is that because of their political connections and what they represent in the Zimbabwe military, the officers have been able to engage in corrupt activities, and the top hierarchy of the army was essentially turning a blind eye to them. And then you have got, besides Hlanganani Dube featuring in the housing scandal, he has also been accused of stealing 30 tons of beef at some point in the past. And then you have got instances of other generals engaging in corrupt activities, and there is one who is alleged to have stolen a bus from the army and then sold it to a private transport operator. The Zimai newspaper has characterized this as industrial scale theft, and went on to say it's primitive looting at the highest levels. And so that's what the media is, how the media has covered the scandal in the military. And so now I also got access to the Zimbabwe newspaper, and the Zimbabwe newspaper is saying that the corruption in the military is not a new thing. Right now, if the top hierarchy of the military are acting on it, it's not simply that this is an isolated incident. The corruption is part and parcel of daily life in the military. And then what the Zimbabwe newspaper is saying, that as far back as 1997, when Zimbabwe intervened in the Democratic Republic of Congo, soldiers were already involved in corrupt activities. They were stealing rations meant for soldiers who were fighting on the front lines, and then selling these rations to civilians, ordinary civilians in Congo. Yeah. So that's what the Zimbabwe newspaper is saying about the scandal. And then my own approach to this, I think I'm really skeptical whether the corruption that is reported is actually what's taking place. I would think the corruption is rampant in the Zimbabwe military. But what we are being told is only a small, how can I say it? It's the tip of the iceberg. It's only a tiny component of what actually is happening. For instance, if I were to give you an example, the top hierarchy of the military, they operate companies, several of them. I'll bring you on screen an article from Africa Confidential, and here is the on the screen the list of companies owned by the military. Starting from the left, you have got Penn East, and you've got Raybim Investments, you've got Livesey Investments, Dominicus Investments, Cosmotex Investments, Great Dyke Investments, Spincash Investments, and then you have got African Chrome Fields. These are all companies that are owned by the military or have links to the military. Some of them, they even own properties, or they are leasing properties to the retired commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, who is now vice president. Livesey Investments, to be precise, owns Vice President Chiwenga's mansion in Harare, and then Dominicus Investments again owns a plot that is being used by Vice President Chiwenga. And so this actually shows you the scale of the military's involvement in the fabric of life in Zimbabwe, specifically the business sector, carrying out activities in the mining industry, specifically in the mining industry, because they don't need to do any processing. They extract just rocks from the ground, and then off they sell them on the international market, and they pocket the proceeds. Yeah. So, and African Confidential goes on to say that Chiwenga and other ZANU-PF leaders are cashing in on the boom in the value of minerals, and those minerals are essential for the industrial electric vehicle industrial revolutions, and the boom in digital communications, minerals like platinum and lithium. And then you have got an organization called the Sentry. I have actually accessed its website, and its mission statement states that Sentry is an investigative and policy organization that seeks to disable multinational predatory networks that benefit from violent conflict, repression, and kleptocracy. Now, the key word here is kleptocracy. I will explain kleptocracy later on, its meaning and what it implies in terms of to the ordinary Zimbabwean, and how business is conducted in Zimbabwe. And I will specifically, I want to discuss this in light of what are the military's ownership of companies. So now Sentry basically revealed that companies linked to the military were paying amounts as like $2 million to political elites in ZANU-PF, and then another business tycoon with links to the military and the political establishment paid 120 million a company to Spincash, a company I have already shown you in the diagram. And these are all amounts of money, millions of dollars, which are supposed to be paid. It's it's even plausible that these companies are not paying any tax at all, simply for the simple reason that the military in Zimbabwe has got outsized influence, and they are literally a law unto themselves, a state within the state. So they do whatever they like, and it's plausible that they're not paying any tax at all. And then I've got an article from the Sentry itself, the organization, the Sentry, and I just wanted to show you on page 16 what it says about the military's involvement in the business sector in Zimbabwe. In many instances, crucial pieces of information about these transactions, including the size of payments, the terms of agreements, and the identities of beneficiaries, are not disclosed to the public. So this is what's coming to light from the article from the Sentry article, and what they're saying is that the military's involvement in the business sector highlights potential corruption, and it is a sign of state capture of Zimbabwe's mining sector. The military is engaging in opaque licensing practices. There is no information on who is actually benefiting from the mining companies. So now you can see the problem here. An ordinary company in any ordinary country is supposed to pay taxes, is supposed at least to invest some of the mining proceeds into the local community, things like building schools and hospitals. I doubt if any of these companies are doing any of those things. What appears is that, like, to my mind, I would think these companies, what they are simply doing is fleecing off the public of taxes, and they are not paying any taxes at all. They are squirreling money out into offshore tax havens. This is what I think is happening. And now I've accessed the Chatham House website, and I wanted you to get at least an idea of what is a kleptocracy, the meaning. That's kleptocracy. The Sentry article refers to the political elites in ZANU-PF and its allies in the military as a kleptocracy. Kleptocracy refers, according to the Chatham House website I have accessed, it's grand corruption, where high-level political power is abused to enable a network of ruling elites to steal public funds for their own private gain using public institutions. This is of particular significance considering how the Zimbabwean state is run. The military is actually using its access to the civilian component of government, and at least those are the people who are supposed to enforce the rules. They are turning a blind eye. The military, they are involved in mining entities, and they are not paying any tax at all. They're squirreling the proceeds abroad, and the civilian component of the state, they are doing nothing. So then it goes on to say the kleptocracy is a system based virtually on unlimited grand corruption, with near total impunity for those authorized to loot by the head of state. Yeah, so this is what it is. In the case of Zimbabwe, the president was elected by through a coup in 2017, and instead of the president being accountable, the military, being accountable to the president, in Zimbabwe it's the reverse. The generals put Emerson Mnangagwa in power. They expect him to do what they want. They expect him to let them do whatever they think is in their interests. And the corruption that is being talked about in the papers, the three generals who have been fired, I think that's just a tip of the iceberg. It's mistaking the tree for an entire forest, and I think that just masks a much bigger problem. The top hierarchy, when the story is carried out in the newspapers, they appear to be doing something. They put in a facade that the military is clean within its ranks, but as you can see, the military, they own a network of companies, and it's plausible that they are not paying any tax at all. And then what emerges out of all this is, what is the normal role of the military? I've accessed the website of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that is NATO, and I just wanted to get at least a feel of what is considered normal for a military organization in a normal democratic country. I've highlighted on the screen on the article on the screen on there, and it says that in a normal democracy, the civilian institutions are supreme, and they refer actually to the generality of the population, the people who have elected members of parliament, the president. They are the people who actually should be in charge of the country, running all institutions, including the military. And the military should actually be accountable to the civilian component of the state, that is the president and the minister of defense. But in Zimbabwe, as we can all witness, it's not that sort of situation. It's the military actually running things, and they install their man, who is effectively a puppet, a marionette, as they say in French, and the president is actually turning a blind eye to all these activities. What is the role of the military? What should they be doing? They should actually be in barracks, and they should actually be protecting the integrity of the Zimbabwe's borders. They should actually making sure that every Zimbabwean is safe. But they are not, besides those tasks, besides that mandate, they are dabbling in business, they are engaging in corrupt practices, they are literally running the country. And that is not what an ordinary, normal country should be. It's a military dictatorship. They are depriving opportunities to the ordinary Zimbabwean. A long time ago, everyone in Zimbabwe, at least those who were in school, they were aspiring to get a university degree, a diploma, and that was, at that point in time, a passport for you to get into paid employment, to seek a better life for yourself. But now those degrees, diplomas are now worthless pieces of paper, because there is 95% employment. The formal employment sector is non-existent. People are deserting Zimbabwe, at least the able-bodied. They are migrating to South Africa, Botswana, as far as the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, because there are no prospects for them in Zimbabwe. You take the cases of countries like Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, or even Mozambique. People are staying in their own countries. The citizens of Botswana, citizens of Namibia, citizens of South Africa. We Zimbabweans are flocking to other countries. Zimbabwe, its chief exports are its own people. And that's not a normal situation at all. a country that's empty of its own citizens, a country that's exporting its own citizens, there is no future in that. You have got like the top hierarchy of the military, people who are over 65, they're over 70s, geriatrics. They should be retired. Instead, they're concentrating on looting resources, depriving the young of their future, and the list goes on. Well, thank you so much for watching this recording. If you are interested in material of this kind, please subscribe, and please don't forget to give me some likes. Thank you. Bye.